You have two arteries. Your brachiocephalic, which runs up to this point, and your left subclavian. Okay? Goes all the way down. Sorry, that thing is about... I'm not good with that. I don't
Go ahead, just keep talking. You're doing great. Just keep talking.
Okay, so this one breaks off into your left common carotid. This is right here. And your right common carotid, which is over here. This breaks off the brachiocephalic. After it breaks off into the two common carotids, breaks off into the right subclavian, which has 4 divisions. On the top part of the division, you can actually see the first one. This is your vertebral. I'm trying to find it. It's right here. This is first division. This is your vertebral. The second one, right here, this is your thyrocervical. The ones on the bottom, this one that I'm touching, this one, right here is your internal mammary gland. And this one that's actually embedded in the costal region is called your costal cervical. If you continue down the right subclavian, this goes into your axillary, which is your armpits, and at the bottom, and then into your branchioles, and eventually into your radials. Okay. In terms of veins, this is your superior vena cava, right? That obviously comes from which part of the heart?
No, base.
No. I mean, from which atrium does it come from, or what ventricle?
Right.
It goes into your right
Ventricle.
Right atrium.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Okay, so coming up from the from the superior vena cava, underneath here is your asgus. You can see it. It's right. It's this blue one right here. Let me show you. It's this.
Okay, that's what?
Your asgus. Okay. Once you come up the superior vena cava, this is your internal membrane. Very similar to where the artery version is, right? Because you have artery versions right here. This is broken now, but it's this one. So this is your internal memory one for your vein. This part, just like the artery, is your brachiocephalic vein. Okay. This breaks off into 2 sections. The first part, this would be your left external jugular, and your left internal jugular. This one coming up here. On this side and this side of the brachiocephalic, you have your right external jugular, and then you, of course, have your internal. It's kind of broken on this one, but you'd have the internal right jugular right here as well. From here, from the brachiocephalic, just like the arteries, this becomes your right subclavian, which branches off into your axillary and eventually into your branchial. Same situation here, except in this case it's your left subclavian, breaks off into your brachials and then to your radials. So that's the whole thoracic. See, once you get familiar with it, it's pretty much the same. Okay, underneath, in the abdominal section, you kind of have to go below the diaphragm, starting with the arteries. This is your descending aorta right here. This big thick one you can see. There's some fat, some tissue we got to get rid of. This first one, this first division of the aorta, this is your cephalic trunk. Okay. After your cephalic trunk, this would be your superior mesentery. And that makes sense because this is your mesenteric organ on top. So, superior mesentery on top. This branches off into 2 sections. One is right up here on the top of the kidneys. What organ do we know that's on top of the kidneys?
The adrenal gland.
Right, so this is, you can't...
Adrenolumbar.
This artery right here is your adrenolumbar artery. And the one that goes into your kidneys, the other name for kidneys is renal. And this is your renal artery. If you continue going down the descending aorta, you can see it now, kind of breaking it apart. This part branches off into your inferior mesentery, right? And then you have 2 divisions here. You have to see them. The first one, this is your external iliac arteries. And this is your internal iliac arteries, the one that's closer inside. Okay. Once you go into the fibula, this becomes the femoral artery. So it was the iliacs, right? It became the femoral artery. And then in the femoral artery, it has 2 divisions. Underneath the deep part that goes underneath your patella, this becomes your popliteal artery, this one. And the one that goes all the way down the leg becomes your saphenous. And that's it for the arteries. In terms of veins, you're looking at your inferior vena cava. Same divisions, your inferior vena cava becomes which one? Your adrenal lumbar veins. Then this becomes your renal veins. The one difference between the arteries and the veins is your gonadal. Like here, you can see the gonadal arteries. I forgot to mention that.
Show me the right and left gonadal.
This would be your left gonadal artery.
Okay.
Right? But for the veins, the gonadal vein actually comes from the kidneys. It's right here.
Okay.
It's this blue vein that comes from underneath. That's the big difference between the veins and the arteries. Once you continue down the inferior vena cava, you get into this common common iliac vein,
Good job.
right? The branches off again, the same thing, external and internal iliac. Breaks off into femoral, popliteal, and then instead of saphenous, it's greater saphenous. Inside, the last artery I kind of forgot to mention is that inside here, you know how I mentioned that the internal iliac artery also goes into your medial sacral arteries. You can't find them here. You'd actually have to cut inside, but here would be your medial artery. And that's all of them. That's every...